one job to do. Your only job was to murder someone by hitting them with your car. So how is it that the person you were supposed to murder ended up buried in the woods? Like, make it make sense. Hello. Today we're going to be talking about episodes 1 and 2 of the new Netflix K-drama, which is also a thriller called Karma. So if you're new here, welcome. I'm Jess. I love K-dramas and I just want to chat about them. And don't forget to subscribe to be notified of upcoming videos. So there's a lot of audacity and egregiousness happening in these two episodes. So as usual, grab a drink, get comfy, and let's just chat about it. To make it easy to follow, I'm going to be talking about each of the episodes separately just because there are different characters and different plot lines in each of them. And in addition to that, I'm going to be using the nicknames that the show provided just because I love nicknames. It's just so much easy and it's just so fun to say them. So rather than using most of the character names, I'm just going to use the same ones that were in the show. And then in the description, I'm also just going to write it out as well, just so you can follow along. Episode 1 focuses on the debtor. So within the first 5 minutes, the show opens up with a man who was left to burn in a burning building. And then when firefighters arrive, they're able to kind of rescue him, but he is scarred all over his body. And then when he's taken to the hospital and he says his name, we see one of the doctors, who is played by Shinmina, who kind of had like a scared, traumatic look on her face hearing his name. So definitely know that she's going to be relevant to the plot at some point. And then the show quickly jumps into 15 days before the fire. Before we end, I'm going to say I don't like this man. I didn't like this man at all. I hate him so much. Like, my blood was like boiling the entire time from beginning of this episode all the way to the end of the episode. And I think that's partly like good writing, and then he's partly a good actor as well, because I will say within maybe like 30 seconds to a minute of seeing him, I already knew that I wasn't gonna like him as a character. But also, I guess that's kind of like the point of the show. So let's talk about what we know about the debtor. He works at some sort of factory, particularly on the transportation side. We see that he has a lot of bills that have been accumulating over time. He also sees a note from his landlord that he has not been paying rent for the last 3 months and he is about to be evicted. And then to make things worse, this man is heavily, very, very heavily involved in the stock market, and he's not even doing well whatsoever. And like, the part that really irritates me is his attitude about the entire situation, or I think his like lack of caring, because even when he comes home and finds the eviction letter, this man has the audacity to like scoff at the fact that his landlord wrote him an eviction letter when he is literally the one who has not been paying any of the bills, and he kind of makes it seem like there's no possible way that she's gonna evict him whatsoever. We also find out that he borrowed money from a loan shark and he has not paid it back, and he's also avoiding this loan shark's calls, which is like, if you owed a loan shark money, the least you can do, the bare minimum you can do, is like answer their phone calls, especially when they know where you live and they can easily track you down. And that's literally what happened. The loan shark, I love this scene so much. The loan shark literally just shows up to his apartment, punches in the code, and then swiftly walks in and is just like, so you're answering my calls now? You're not answering my calls? And then when we see his phone, we see that he had saved the loan shark as asshole, which makes the man even like more upset about the whole situation. And essentially the loan shark kidnaps him, says that he has 30 days to pay back the money, and if he doesn't, he'll pay for it with his body. And by that, I mean that he's gonna pay with his organs, and it will make a lot of people very, very happy. I already said I didn't like this man, still don't like him, and the show just kept giving me more and more reasons not to like him. So let's get into his relationship with his father. So it was very telling that when his father called him, or when he got a call from his father's phone, I should say, his very first response, rather than saying hello or giving any sort of greeting, is to automatically ask for money, which kind of just shows that he really doesn't care about his father, like, kind of like whatsoever. It literally just means nothing to him. And then we come to find out that the reason he got a call from his father's phone is because his father was hospitalized for being involved in a car accident. So when he gets to the hospital and finds out about the car accident, this man takes advantage of the situation, specifically from the person who hit his father, just because the driver of the car, one, does not want to go through insurance, which I've watched a lot of people's court and I automatically know that that's very suspicious. Two, the driver wants to kind of give some sort of compensation for what happened in the accident. And then three, he wants to take advantage of the driver because of the fact that the driver has a nice car. I think it was like some Range Rover autobiography or whatever. I don't know car speak, so that means literally nothing to me. But apparently he has a nice car, which kind of indicates that he has money. The driver decides to give him 5 million won, which translates to about 3,100 US dollars. And then this man, again, gives his father only 3 million of that 5 million won, which is about 2,100, and he essentially keeps the money for himself. And he even tries to take that 3 million won away from his father. And then when that doesn't work, he sees the car driver outside and then blackmails him, essentially saying that if he doesn't give him another 3 million won, he's going to report him to the police for drunk driving and essentially making a false statement. But he ends up getting the money. And again, as I keep saying, this man is trash and he's going to keep getting worse as I keep talking about what he does next. Since his father's in the hospital, his father asked him to go to his place and grab some clothes for him to wear. So once he gets to his father's place, first he finds a Rolex. And that's important because we know that the person who was burned at the beginning of the episode was seen wearing a Rolex. Next, he finds his father's life insurance policy, which specifically states that if he dies in a motor accident, his family members would get 500 million won, which is about 350,000 US dollars. I've never understood why you have to be super specific about the way you die in a life insurance policy. Like, it's never made sense to me. Like, could it not just be that you died? Because it also does give people, I've watched a lot of shows, I watch a lot of thrillers. It does give people the opportunity to kill you in a very specific way. So when he found this life insurance policy, I was like, there's no way he's gonna like attempt to kill his dad, right? Like, the person who helped him come into the world, the person who apparently has been giving him money to pay his rent for like months and months and months, not including the past like 3 months. I was like, there's no way he's actually gonna do this. And I was wrong. I was wrong because that is literally what happens next. He offers this Chinese Korean guy who was fired from his job, and since I said I love nicknames, we're gonna call him the Foreigner. So he essentially offers the Foreigner the job, saying that if he kills his father for him, he'll give him a cut of the money. And I think he had said he'll give him 60 million won, which, remember, I said that in the life insurance policy, it's 500 million won. So he's essentially giving him the lower end of the stick. And I was so glad when the Foreigner showed up out of the blue and was like, hey, I did some research and you're getting 500 million won. So let's rearrange our deal here because I need to be getting more of that money. And it does work, which rightfully is deserved. It's the night of the murder. So essentially the debtor has to have some sort of alibi. So he invites his friend to have dinner with him, and then they're supposed to go to karaoke, but his friend gets a call from his wife basically demanding that he comes home like right now. So what he decides to do is he still goes to the karaoke spot, and then afterwards he goes to a fast food place. I really think it was McDonald's. So while he's at McDonald's, he makes sure to like make eye contact with employees who work there, and then he ends up sleeping there overnight, which I'm assuming he does that in case that the police question him about where he was. He can say, oh, I was at this specific place, and then the employees would remember him because of the fact that he slept there until the store essentially, like, I think opened the next day. And then he finally gets a call from the police, I think the next day or the day after, stating that they found his father and that he needs to come down to the station as soon as possible. And this man is literally in the bathroom at the police station, like practicing his fake crying to make sure that it sounds believable. And I was so angry like the entire time, because then when he sees his dad, he's like breaking down into tears about how he can't believe his father has like left him and how someone would do this to him and if they're even gonna find the person who did this. But wait, the police officer says, I don't believe this was an accident whatsoever. And it's because they have a witness. And the witness happens to be his father's friend from the church, who Debtor already doesn't like because he feels like all of his dad's money was going to her anyways. And then, my favorite part, to make it even worse, the officer says another reason I don't believe it was an accident was because he was buried in the mountain. Oh my God, the whole time I was like, you had one job to do. Your only job was to murder someone by hitting them with your car. So how is it that the person you were supposed to murder ended up buried in the woods? Like, make it make sense, because I did not understand how that even happened. And the main character didn't understand either. He was like, how does this happen? Literally, he had one job to do, and we need to know how he messed up so poorly. Okay, so thoughts on Debtor. He sucks. He's awful. I kind of laughed when he got beat up by the teens in the alley, even though the kids did provoke the entire situation, but it is what it is. I still can't believe that he actually arranged for someone to kill his father just so that he can get some money. So I'm excited for what happens next, and I'm excited to see what karma is going to do to him after everything he's done in the past 50 minutes. Next up is glasses. So this man, like these men, this show are going to be the death of me. But this man saying within 30 seconds, men become rich so that they can get the woman they want, told me everything I needed to know about this man. So he's shown to be kind of timid, or at least he pretends to be, also awkward and not used to getting the attention or really being comfortable around women, because his date, who was named Yu Jung, the show hasn't given her a nickname. I guess the show has not given women a nickname in the show, which I feel like there's partially going to be some sort of reason to that. And I also don't have a nickname for her at the moment, so we will revisit that in the next episode. But essentially, she is kind of flirting with him and very clear about her intentions to hook up, and he's so clueless. He is not picking up on any of the hints, and it's like, how direct does she need to be? She is literally saying, I want to do something else, inciting that she doesn't want to have dessert. She wants to go hook up, but somehow he is not getting there, and she has to like flat out say that to him. At Yu Jung's request, they end up going to, I think it's like a hotel or a motel named Oasis in the secluded like woods for whatever reason, just because she thought it would just be like a cute romantic spot. And then she pressures him into drinking before they could hook up, and he was very much against it. We also found out that he's taken some sort of medication. We don't really know what it is, but he wasn't supposed to, I think, like drink within 3 hours, but he ended up drinking anyways. So after they had hooked up, in the middle of the night, she gets a call saying that her friend's father died and she needs to leave immediately and be there for her friend. So initially, she talks about the fact that she was gonna like take a taxi, and ultimately she does kind of guilt trip him into driving her, even though he kind of like protests it a little bit because of the fact that, one, he did drink, two, he's also sleepy. And I will say, in this situation, he had a choice. He did not have to get into the car and drive her. He had a choice. He could have just stayed in bed. He could have called the taxi for her or the designated driver, but he didn't do it. So he's very much complicit in getting behind the vehicle in terms of what happens next. So While they are driving, for whatever reason, Yu Jung is like, I'll keep you awake. And she decides to seduce him while he is driving. So she is like touching him. She is like kissing him. They're like making out while he's driving. And he does not pay attention to the road. And next thing you know, they hit someone. They have hit someone on the road. Like, what are they, like, what are these people doing? And after this happens, honestly, she wanted to do the right thing, which was call the police, but he talked her out of it, saying that they have a chance to continue living their lives as is. All they have to do is essentially get rid of the body. And funny enough, as they're having that conversation, we hear like a can, and then they like turn to look around, and then there's a witness who we're actually gonna call the witness in the show. And he gets on his bike, literally tries to book it, and he's like biking. And then all of a sudden, Glasses like starts running at him full force and tackles him to the ground while he is on his bike, and then grabs him and puts him in the trunk of the car with the other victim. So if you're keeping count, this is victim number 2. Within the span of like 10 minutes, he has 2 bodies in the back of his truck. And as they get to the mountain, which is the place that they've decided is where they're gonna dispose of the body, the eyewitness starts screaming, and then Glasses goes out to see what the commotion is. He starts like hitting him with a golf club, and then stops and then pays him 10 million won in exchange for his silence. And then at the same time, he's like, but you need to earn that money, so I need you to grab him essentially and help me bury him. And then while they're burying him, eyewitness is like, maybe we should dig it a little deeper so that no one can find him. And then Glasses just starts like yelling at him, starts like freaking out, which honestly, in hindsight, they should have done it a little deeper, because literally at the beginning of the episode, that's how they find him, because it doesn't even look like he had been buried. It looked like someone just like placed the body right there on the mountain. Like, he could have tried a little bit harder if you wanted to bury a body. And then after they bury the body and the witness gets into the car, he's like, so I kind of like thought about it, and I think 10 million won is very light for this situation. So I'm gonna need another 10 million won. And Glasses is just so exasperated at the whole situation that he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna give you 20 and then we're done. And it's such like an awkward drive back into the city, because Glasses, like, his hand is injured. His car looks a mess. Everyone is just like shaken. Honestly, the witness doesn't seem that shaken by the situation, because he came out 30 million won richer after everything that happened. And then everyone just like goes their separate ways. And most of the cost for everything happens to go on Glasses, because he has to get his car repaired. And then we also find out that I think he's an acupuncturist, but essentially he's some sort of medical professional with his own clinic. So he's just upset about like the cost of everything and how he's the only one who has to pay for everything. So he reaches out to Yu Jung, specifically asking if she can like help to chip in, which initially I was like, oh, okay, it kind of makes sense, because she was also there. She was also part of the situation. I'm not saying she was at fault, but she definitely had a hand in it. So I was like, oh, it kind of makes sense for her to pay part of it. And then when he gets off the phone with her, this man is like, yeah, serves you right. I'm not going to be the only one paying for all of this when you're the one who forced me to drink. And I'm just like, oh, these men. Again, he didn't have to drink. He chose to drink. He is a grown ass man with free will and choice, and he chose to make all these decisions because he wanted to sleep with her, because he wanted to be with her. And honestly, all of that is on him. But again, this told me exactly what I needed to know about this man. And then as he's tending to his wounds in his office, in walks the eyewitness. And I was just like, how did he find him? because they never exchanged names or any contact information. And I know this man is here to just ask for more money. In addition to this, there was kind of another side plot that was going on with these two people who are following glasses for some reason. So at the scene of the accident, we do see a car pull up to them, and they pretend to be a couple and just ask like if everything is okay. And then as they're driving off, the man asks the woman if she was able to get a picture, and she says no because it was really risky. And then at the end of the episode, we see that they are actually across the street, literally directly across from his office, and they are taking pictures of him from the rooftop of the building they're on. They're also taking pictures of him entering different buildings. Literally, they're stalking him. So I'm guessing that they're probably some form of like private detectives. And this just begs the question of, what else did this man do? Because they wouldn't be following him for like absolutely no reason whatsoever. Yeah, but it just wouldn't make sense, right? Overall thoughts on these two episodes. Honestly, I'm really excited, but also I was like excited before I even watched the first episodes just because of how stacked the cast is. So watching the first two episodes, I honestly had no idea what to expect. I also didn't think that I would essentially like hate all of the characters that we've been shown so far, which also is not really a bad thing because it makes it so much easier to root for them, specifically when none of these characters have any redeeming qualities whatsoever, and they are putting their lives above the lives of anyone else and feeling as if kind of like they're God and they do have some hand in who gets to live and who gets to die. So I'm very excited to see karma here at work and giving them exactly what they deserve. I also love that the plot moved very quickly in these two episodes. I don't feel like anything really dragged, and I was able to learn a lot about the characters kind of through little things that they said or visual cues that were shown rather than the show trying to like explicitly tell me all of this information. I really am intrigued about how Debtor's father, who was supposed to be killed via hit and run. Very, very simple crime here. Very, very simple execution. I don't understand how this man who's supposed to be hit by a car somehow ended up getting hit by another car and then ended up being buried in the woods. Because I'm assuming that that is the same man, because the point of the show is that all of these people are supposed to be connected by the same crime. But how is it that this man fucked up so bad that he let this man get hit by another car? It doesn't make sense. Like, I really don't understand how we got here. And I cannot wait for the show to tell me that, because I feel like it's only going to get crazier from here. One last thing, I saw a couple comments floating around about this, and I also kind of had the same question, but I did feel like I thought Shimina's character would be a huge part of the story. Maybe it's just that that's where we're gonna get to in the subsequent episodes. But her character was only in the show for honestly less than 5 minutes in episode 1, which is surprising considering that she's kind of like top billing in this show. And I know she's definitely one of the reasons that people are watching this show. And it seems like she is one of the focal characters, just like looking at the posters in terms of her holding, I think it's kind of like a scalpel. And then I don't think you can see it in the poster behind me here, but she's the one who has all the threads wrapped around her, kind of stating that she is going to be a pivotal player in this story. So I am excited, and I hope that we do get to see her soon. What are my predictions for next week's episodes? 1, the witness is gonna ask glasses for more money. Like, it's just gonna happen. Number 2, Debtor is gonna confront the foreigner about the events of the accident and how he messed up so poorly, because I also need to know how this happened. And then number 3, Shimina's character is going to finally make an appearance. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know what you thought of these 2 episodes, these characters, and your predictions for the storyline. So similar to what I did for Buried Hearts, I will be talking about the show in 2 episode chunks. So since the show is, I think, only 6 episodes, so I'll be making 3 videos about the show. So on that note, have a great day, and I will see you next week.